Right, it's once again Troy and Tusk coming at you live from. We're in a pub in London once again. Tell me if the audio's all right. I don't know if you can hear this or not. I know there's a bit of music in the background. Hopefully it's okay. Hopefully the visuals are okay. This actually looks like one of these American sports bars. I don't know what's playing in the background.
We both look incredibly clean shaven, and actually, like we've got something to offer the world as well,
which is unusual, but
very unusual.
Yeah. But anyway, so here we are, and we want to talk about. Well, there's a few things to talk about. The first thing, of course, is if you don't know already, we've got a boot camp coming up very soon in Warsaw, Poland, next week actually. It starts on the 1st of August and it runs through until the 4th of August, which is the Thursday and the Sunday. There is some latitude around that, though, because we are going to be there a few days before and after. 4 days worth of intense coaching out in the field, getting you into loads and loads of interactions with very beautiful, friendly women, and breaking down each interaction you do and helping you improve and really exponentially, upping your skills in the game. So if you're interested in that, we do have a couple of spaces remaining, but we're pretty tight on numbers already. So drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com or info@jamestusk.com, and we'll go from there. But
include your WhatsApp number and we'll have a chat. It's going to be myself and Troy coaching. We've got a number of really top coaches that have been doing this for a long time. Not necessarily YouTube names, they keep themselves off YouTube, but
people who know what they're doing,
for a long time, they know what they're doing. They're really, really good. And so it's going to be an epic team of coaches. There's 6 or 7 coaches in town. We're going to have around 10 clients. I was going to say students. It makes it seem like young guns, but there's a mix of young guns and older guys.
Yeah, really, really good mix of people, actually. A bunch of, I mean, the one thing that we do actually, you and I suppose both of us together, we do tend to get quite a lot of repeat business, don't we? And I think that's because when people have done it, firstly, they enjoy the experience, but secondly, they recognize the value once they've been on one of these things. If you think about, for example, our friend Mr. G from New York, right? He was quite reticent. I actually did a session with him in New York City, but he was quite reticent to do a boot camp outside of his country because he was like, well, I want to learn on my home turf. But then he came to Colombia with us, didn't he? That was the first one. And now he's hooked. And now he's hooked on travel is one aspect of this. This is really, really what it's all about, is learning the skill set. But,
well, I'd actually argue it's a mix. It was I love traveling the world and the adventure of travel and the beauty going to take place, and then mixed in with that, being a social animal, meeting women, going on these crazy adventures. That was for me, it was what I fell in love with. It was a combination of the dopamine of a new place and exploring that, but from the point of being social and having fun and meeting people, and it's an awesome way to see the planet. Because I've been traveling the world for now 7 years. You've done a lot of travel with me and without me. Between us, we've got a massively combined knowledge of places to go, the best bars, the best day game spots, the best clubs, the best restaurants, within and outside, without Europe. And so Warsaw is an epic place. It's probably, if you're not willing to danger travel within Europe, and by that I mean I go to the areas of conflict currently going on in Europe, then Warsaw is probably the top place for an abundance of beauty. You've got women from all the Slavic countries. You've got Polish women themselves who are very hot, very feminine. It's an epic place to learn this stuff. It's peak of summertime. Even if you're based in the US, flying for a week, come and join us for a couple of days, just coaching you to split it up.
Yeah,
it's an epic place, and we only put on Warsaw because we had massive demand for it. Planning it this year.
We weren't, because we've done it for the last few years running, and it's not that. It still remains a great place, but obviously you sometimes think, let's mix things up a bit, or maybe we'll give it a rest for this year. But there's a lot of demand for it, and sure enough, it's been one of the biggest ones possibly that we've done today this year. Well, I'm not sure. We've had some other quite big ones, but it's been certainly very, very popular. And
it's the jewel in the crowd, isn't it? And most men that go with us to Warsaw end up going back on their own. It's just got everything. It's a cool city. It's up and coming. It's got a brilliant mix of nice restaurants, bars. The weather's amazing. Cost of living is fairly low, probably half the price of London. Very, very hot, feminine women, again, from all over, very receptive foreigners. and you've got myself and Troy and a number of other coaches teaching. It's going to be fucking epic. So get in touch. Honestly, that's what we're going to say about Warsaw for the next 3 minutes. Until we get run out. I think other things to say, but it's a great opportunity to join us there. We won't be there again teaching a proper boot camp for another year. So this is the time. We're going to be in town from the 29th of July to around the 7th of August. Even if you can't make the boot camp, which is the 1st or the 4th of August, you're welcome to come in and join us in for a day's coaching or half a day's coaching. We can shuffle things around. We can make time for it. We're going to be there, so let's make the most of it. We've got a cameraman there. It's going to be fucking awesome. It really is. So exciting times for us.
Yeah, and we can, we say cameraman. I mean, we can film you. That doesn't have to go on YouTube or anything publicly. I mean, obviously, if you want to, we can talk about that. But this is more for your benefit because, I mean, one of the, we film many clients doing interactions, and the footage is never shown publicly. But they get to keep the footage and look through it, and as cringe as it is, watching yourself doing this stuff and then listening back to it, it's the best feedback. And we can sit down with you and go through it, and we can stop the video and go, okay, what's happening here? She's looking at you like that. Why did you say that? Why do you think she responded like that? And we'll really break it down, and that's an incredibly valuable way of learning about this stuff.
Tom Torero on the right with no hair.
He's been high,
egg-shaped version.
Yeah. Anyway, so look. With that being said, we wanted to do a quick one today. Talk about leaning into. I mean, so basically we met up yesterday. We were talking about a lot of business stuff. Didn't do any tangible work, but we did have some quite interesting conversations about various things. But I mean, this topic of leaning into a masculine edge, and you were talking about basically leaning into fear. It underpins, I think, a lot of what we're currently teaching.
Well, first port of call is mentioning the difference between worry and fear, and I got this from a video. I can post if people are interested. We'll put the links beneath. But the guy talks about the guy who was talking about the concept of worry versus fear was talking to a security expert who guards celebrities and Hollywood stars and stuff like that. And he goes, fear doesn't exist in a normal person's life, and the guy who made the video was like, what do you mean? And the security expert said, look, the issue with most men's lives and most people's lives is it's too soft. You're at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You've got nothing to really fear. And so you confuse anxiety-inducing situations or things that make you anxious or worried with fear. But fear is a visceral response you will get if someone puts a gun to your head. In your body, it's a shock response. Or it gives you the strength if your mum's been hit by a car to lift the car off your mum. Or if a big dog is coming for your throat, that's fear. That feeling, once you understand what fear is very, very different to this dull, kind of anxiety-induced rumination feeling of worry. So for a start, in most people's lives in the Anglosphere, in the modern day world, most people watching this content, fear doesn't actually exist day to day. You're very unlikely to experience fear on a regular basis. So first thing is it's worry, it's rumination, this kind of anxiety. It's not a big deal. And the second thing is, look, realistically, we have got quite easy lives. I'd say actually most people's issues with life, most people's discontent, and I'd say my own, and the need for adventure, the need for travel, and all this stuff I've kind of self-inflicted adversity or self-inflicted challenge has come from a need to lean into that masculine edge. And David Davis talks about him, where the spirit nutsack, I mean, where the spirit man. Yeah. He talks about the need to lean into your masculine edge. If you're not doing that, you're staying sitting in a comfort zone and everything's like all nice and fluffy and fucking woolly. It's fucking boring and it slowly kills your soul because the masculine, the energy, the masculine energy needs discomfort, it needs fear, it needs challenge. And if you don't have that because you're luckily, at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're born into a safe environment. You need to go and seek that out. That self-inflicted adversity, that self-inflicted challenge. You can gamify it, you can make it fun. What I loved about Cold Approach getting into this stuff was even though it's a small type of challenge, on a daily basis, you always wake up going, I don't really want to go and speak to those women. And you walk out the house and you go and speak to a couple of women and you always feel a bit scared. And it's not, that's what I kind of liked about it. It's always kind of facing a bit of self-inflicted adversity every day, right? So I think when I've been at the top of my game with Cold Approach, I've been a lot more alive as a human being. You just feel alive because you go out the house, even if you get blown out by a few girls, right? You go to a bar, you get blown out. You don't give a fuck. You feel alive. You feel in the moment. You feel present. When you go away from, and a good filter to put this through, I think, is ask yourself, right, how would the man I would be proud to be, the ideal version of myself, be acting in this scenario? Am I operating from avoidance of, anxiety and fear and all this stuff and challenge, or am I leaning into it?
Yeah.
Right. So any activity you're going to do or you're putting off doing, all you've got to do is think about, right, the man I'd be proud to be, the ideal version of myself, what would he be doing? And then you either do the activity or you don't. Most of the time, that fucking makes you buck up and just do the thing. Like, for example, there's a family member I didn't really want to see today, right? My mum was going away. She was like, right, come and see XYZ. And I was like, the instinct reaction I had was, oh, fuck this, let's pet this off till Monday. It's not even a big deal, but the instinct in my head, and I was like, right, who would the man you're proud to be, what would he do? And immediately I flipped on it and said, well, you know what, fuck this, I'm going. Yeah. And I just went and did the thing. And it wasn't, that's a very poor example in a way, because it's not a stress.
It's not about danger, but
it's not about danger. It's just something you want to put on. I was like, no, that ideal man, how would he be acting, right? He'd be going to do that thing. And that's how you're going to do it. And Wes Watson talks about this. Craft out the ideal man, how he thinks, his thoughts, his actions, his beliefs, the way he walks, the way he talks, the way he dresses, and start stepping in, map that dude out. Yeah. And start stepping into the shoes of that man. And most men, let's be honest, when you see those smoke show women walking past you in the street, or that girl in the coffee shop, or that cute girl in the group in the bar, most men, if you put it through that filter, what would your idealized version of yourself, the man you are proud to be, not anyone else, you are proud to be, do? Most men would say he would fucking step up and go and flirt with that girl and give it a crack, right? Let's be fucking honest. And most men don't do that. So that's down to you. And if you can't do that stuff, because you've actually watched our content, you've gone and tried it, that's where you need to step up and you need to say, right, enough's enough. There's no shame in getting some help with this. There's no shame in getting coaching. Anything I'm good at in my life, I've got a coach for.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And so this idea that you have to wing it and do it yourself is actually retarded. There's a stupid waste of your most valuable asset, which is your time and your attention and your energy. And it's an ego-based protection mechanism. Because if you took the fragile male ego out of the equation, and you just thought, oh, fuck, these dudes actually are in a position I want to be in when it comes to cold approach. They've got high levels of social freedom. They seem to be able to banter with women. I've seen them doing it hundreds of times on YouTube. I want to be able to do that. If you took away the ego-based fear of kind of like, oh, fuck, I don't need to do it. Like, oh, no, I'm the big I am. I don't need to worry about that bollocks. Or I can do it by myself. If you actually remove that and actually took a backward step, have the self-awareness to objectively look at your situation, you'd realize you spend tens of hundreds of hours, thousands of hours watching content, and how much that converts into a hot girl lying on your dick, right, in bed? Zero.
Exactly.
So that means you can't think your way out of this situation. You actually have to act differently. That means if you resonate with us and you've watched a lot of our content, that means you need to put the laptop down, hopefully put the box of Kleenex away if you're that way inclined, and then you need to come and join us in one of these locations. It doesn't have to be Warsaw. We're both going to be in Rio Carnivore next year. That's an awesome fucking place to learn a cold approach, right? World's biggest street party, smoking hot Brazilians. We go to some of the world's best parties where it's a 70% ratio of women to men, because the men are picking up the barbell or the entry cost is about $100. Awesome environment. And we've got amazing street game opportunities there. Smoke show women from all over Latin America coming into town that want to meet foreigners. I mean, you can join us in Colombia in October, New Year's Eve in Rio. I mean, there's just a myriad of opportunities to join us around the world. It can be anywhere you want.
Yeah, we are also actually going to be doing an event in London in September as well, which we're not going to talk too much about now because we don't want to sort of confuse the issue. But there is also an opportunity coming up in London as well. So there's just loads of different things. But when the rubber hits the road, I mean, you've got to, as we've said a million times on a million of these videos, you can't learn this stuff sitting at home watching on your computer or reading a book. You can maybe learn some concepts, but the only way that you're going to do it is by going out there and actually doing it. But furthermore to that, there are people who go out there and they say, oh, well, I've gone out and I've spoken to, 500 different women and I didn't get anything, so it doesn't work. And it's like, well, no, it does work. It's just clearly something's going very badly wrong. But it's very hard for us to, if somebody puts in the comments now, for example, oh, I've done some approaching and it hasn't worked for me. It's going to be impossible for us to diagnose why that is. It could be to do with how you look, how you present yourself. It could be to do with your body language, your eye contact, what you're saying, your verbals, your tone. I mean, there's so many different things. And the way to shortcut all of that, because you're not going to know yourself, it's very hard. It's hard for all of us to see ourselves from the outside. It's impossible. The only way to shortcut that and to get to a result that you want, or to get nearer to a result you want very quickly, is to get mentorship, and that's what we fucking offer. And with all due respect to the other content creators on this platform, well, we're actually on Instagram now as well, by the way, for this, as well as Twitter and stuff. But, I mean,
love it.
yeah, and so anybody, if you're watching this and you're on Instagram or you're on X, you're very welcome, but I would encourage you, if you want to put questions for us in the chat, to come over to YouTube. Obviously, please subscribe to my channel and subscribe to Tusk's new channel as well. But primarily, please come and join us here, because then you can put some questions in the chat. It's harder for us to see on the other platforms. Anyway, sorry.
And just to pick on what you said, yes, there is a small minority of guys who go out there, they've done the reps and they're not getting the results. You need looking at because the nuances within the conversation that you're not picking up.
Yeah.
There's an equation we talk about, social freedom, which the ability to speak to loads of people, that's not an issue for a very small percentage of you guys that are out there heading reps. There's a client that I caught up with the other day, we called him Mr. A. He has that problem, right? So his stats, listen to his stats from his recent Scandinavia trip. So in Stockholm in 8 days, he did 240 cold approaches, 2 instant dates. Warsaw, he did 170 approaches in 4 days, 2 instant dates. And then Łódź, he did only 20 approaches and got 4 instant dates. So that's an example of a guy who's absolutely doing the reps required and absolutely doff my cap to his work rate. I'm not actually sure how, because I've known Mr. A for a long time. He's been doing this for 3 or 4 years. He has the sheer tenacity to keep going with that kind of effort and energy expended, because for most men, they'd be incredibly burnt out by doing that.
In many ways, it's admirable, and it's great that he's taking action, but also
he needs nuances within the conversation.
Clearly, there's something going wrong on some level, and really, there's no shortcut. The only shortcut that exists to finding out what that is and correcting it is by getting somebody who knows what they're doing to look at what you're doing and tell you. So that's what it comes down to.
But most men, I'd say that's 3%, even 2% of men we teach. Most men don't have that problem. Most men, the issue you've got is you sit there watching content, thinking you're taking action.
Yeah.
And then when you actually check in, or we ask you, right, each week, how many women you've spoken to this week? The answer is 0. Right?
Well, I mean,
so they just don't. They can't get out there and they can't do the rest. I always say minimum 20 approaches per week. And if you can't do that by yourself, you need coaching on a boot camp, because you need to be thrown in hundreds of times to break back the first part of the equation, which is social freedom, and actually breaking the back of the approach anxiety, right, and getting consistent with the stuff. And again, if you the first ever stream you've watched of ours and you never watched any content that's seemingly practical, that's telling you what to do, walk out your house every day, go for a walk around 12 till 2 p.m. lunchtime shift if you're working, or 4:30 onwards, just for 45 minutes or an hour, and aim to do 2 or 3 approaches per day, right, Monday to Friday. Let's say you hit 3 a day, which is not a big deal to speak 3 minutes a day. It might seem like it is if you're doing nothing, but the reality is, if you get consistent with this stuff, it's not a big deal. That's 15 approaches by Friday, right? Then Friday evening, you go to a bar with a friend, or Saturday evening, you go to a bar with a friend, right? And you speak to, say, 10 more women. That's 25 approaches already done, and then maybe you do a session with a wing on a Saturday daytime as well, or a Sunday daytime, no more than an hour with a wing and hit 5 approaches. That's 30 done for the week. You could do, I'd say the minimum per week is 20 to start building that social freedom muscle. And the rest of the time, between the actual approaches you're doing, you're always making playful small talk with everyone else. So I was just at the bar drinking I'm reformed Tusk, I've had a shave, I'm on the straight and narrow for now. I've ordered a couple of pints of soda and lime, right? Just chatting to the guy, just banter with the guy for a bit. No real thing, but just to be in a good vibe.
There doesn't need to.
It doesn't need to be anything big. But if you're constantly carrying this kind of playfulness, this vibe to you, you're always making small talk. The Uber driver over here to meet Troy, I was talking to him as well, just bantering away a bit. If you keep yourself in this kind of playful momentum state throughout the day, it's really easy when you see that girl just to give it a shot.
Absolutely.
If you sit there like a fucking, like a fucking lemon, not opening your mouth, you're naturally introverted, and you do that, Monday to Friday, and you've done that for 10, 15 years. Yes, it's incredibly hard to build that social network.
And particularly as well, it doesn't help when guys are in those kind of jobs where that is like their lifestyle, because you're sat in the cubicle, or you're sat at home, or you're sat on spreadsheets all day and you aren't talking to anybody. And
because even now with home office, as I call it, it makes you even more antisocial.
Yeah,
because you're talking to people on a computer, but you're not even around people in the office anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's even worse because people are going in like 3 days a week now at most, in a lot of cases. So this guy said, where do we email for questions? Well, put it in the chat, and we'll answer it now.
Or send us an email.
However,
live coaching, troy@realtroyfrancis.com or info@james.
Yeah, if you're talking about coming on the boot camp, then
include your WhatsApp number because we do all business via WhatsApp.
Yeah, we want to, because we'll probably want to have a chat with you to make sure.
It's just go backwards and forwards. That's up. Go backwards and forwards via emails. A fucking waste of time.
But if you just got a general question about dating now, you can just put it in the chat. But yeah, for the boot camps, troy@realtroyfrancis.com or info@jamestusk.com. So this is an interesting one. So Last Man said, interested in trying boot camps, but afraid friends will ridicule me.
Obviously, don't tell your friends. That's the solution. Like rule 101 of most self-improvement, when I'd say is don't try and do what I did. Do you know what? Well, and shove it down people's throats.
Well, yeah, but I mean, exactly. I mean, look, you don't have to advertise the fact that you're getting coaching in this area if you don't want to. I mean, I would recommend not, because it's just gonna create more questions.
Opens up a can of worms.
There's a client that we have, and you know who he is. I'll tell you later. But he even told his family that he was doing day game coaching, and then his dad was like, "Oh God, so what would you say?" And all this kind of it's embarrassing.
Worse is we've been on boot camps, and we send a client into a approach. The girl goes, "Oh, so what are you doing in Woods?" And the client goes, "I'm on a boot camp learning cold approach, learning day game."
Yeah.
And the girl thinks you could do that as a playful joke, obviously.
Yeah.
But she doesn't literally want to know that the bloke has been
to
learn day game, right?
No, absolutely not. I mean, women want a guy who just gets it.
They don't like the fact actually that men can level up and develop. So it's kind of this one. It's a bit like Fight Club. The first rule of this stuff is you don't need to go and advertise. Don't talk to people. Don't try and get people's buy-in. You don't need the external validation or perceived external validation telling people what you're doing. Get the real alphas in life, right? Shut the fucking mouth and let their actions speak for them.
So look, we know absolutely nothing about Last Man at all. We don't know his situation or anything, but it might be, and I'm just completely speculating here, it might be that he lives in a town, maybe he's got a bunch of mates he's known for a long time. If he suddenly says, "Oh, I'm going to Warsaw for a week," they're going to be like, "What are you up to, mate? You know what you're doing? Why are you doing that?" And that's one of the problems I think guys have, who maybe they've lived in the same town all their lives. They've got a very the hierarchical group of friends that they've known for a very long time, and they're in that position, the pecking order. And I'm not. Again, we don't know this guy's situation, but it might. What I would do is just not tell anybody. I would just say to people. People say, "Well, what are you up to?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm going to Warsaw for the weekend. I've got some mates over there. I'm going to catch up with them." If you're in a position where it's more like there's this hierarchical group and they're all up in your business and they really want to know, then that may also be a concern, because sometimes, and I'm not saying just ditch all your friends, but sometimes you kind of need to. Nothing changes until something changes.
I think most men, if they're very honest, they have to kind of leave the equivalent of the Shire from the Lord of the Rings and actually leave their original group of mates.
I did. Because look, here's the thing.
I wanted to level up in this area, and guys thought what it was doing was ridiculous. And I made exactly the mistake that he's possibly made of telling people. And they were like, "What? You're paying some dues to make you approach women? You fucking lose." I had to leave. Right, I had to just get out because they weren't supportive actually, and I just knew that. You are, to a large degree, the average of 5 people you spend.
Would you come to Norwich for a boot camp? Absolutely. Unlikely, to be honest. We wouldn't do a boot camp in Norwich, but I mean, man, you're not far from London. If you want to come to London and do some training, then drop us an email.
Look, even if you want to kind of learn in the UK because you want to make it relevant to the UK, which I respect. I don't actually agree with, because I think you have a lot of emotional ties. It's better to just go to a place where you find the women really attractive and you're on a foreign holiday, blah, blah, blah. You're way better off not training in Norwich. You're better off coming to London and training in a place where there's a massive volume of women, because you at the beginning, the whole point of this training is you need exposure, therapy. Yeah, you need sensitization.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing, if you don't want to sort of come to Warsaw with us 1st and 4th of August, or anywhere else outside the UK, fine. But at least come to London, because it's very big, it's very anonymous. Nobody's up for your business. Nobody really cares what you're doing. So you'll be able to, and it might be. I mean, I'm not spent any time at all really in Norwich, but it's a very small place. It might be that you see people you know and all that kind of shit. It's going to be very, it's just not going to be an optimal place either to learn this stuff, and also you're going to be inhibited because you think, oh shit, what if I see my auntie now, you know, when I'm talking to her.
But
Yeah.
way better instead of that, get on a flight to Warsaw. You can probably get a flight to Warsaw for £100. Join us there, do the training there, then use that momentum to go back to Norwich. We hold you accountable after training. That's how we keep it going in terms of the momentum you've built. That's a really good comment.
Yeah, all the drama is coming from the fact that women are far more strong than men emotionally. In fact, it is up to us to become fitter emotionally to rivalise with women in terms of...
Absolutely agree.
Yeah,
they did a study where they analysed the top most attractive traits in men for a large group of women, and it was one of the attractive traits was emotional resilience, emotional strength. This idea of being unfucked with them. Again, a great epitome of someone a great advert for someone who epitomised this would be Daniel Craig's James Bond. You look at this concept he uses, or we would say he uses of muse mastery, is this grounded masculine presence and kind of this like nothing anyone does or says really phases me. The girl's waving a gun in my face trying to kill me. I'm kind of laughing at it. You know, you've got this playful approach to life where nothing really bothers you. And that should be the case, right? If you've got anxiety issues, address those. And I know a lot of guys do, but I'd say a lot of men's problems come from, in the Anglo-sphere that I've taught, a lack of challenge, a lack of leading into fear, a lack of really pushing your comfort zone boundaries, right?
Yes.
So actually, I became, as an emotionally pretty soft guy, I became a lot more emotionally resilient, just started travelling and cold approaching by myself. I became not fearless, but that for most men, let's be honest, most men's greatest fear is going up to a hot girl sober and fucking putting it on the line. Right? If you can consistently do that, other things in your life that seem like a big deal quickly kind of actually don't. They kind of trivialise.
But he's right, and I mean it leads into the whole. You know, men are the true romantics. Women are. It's not that women aren't affected emotionally by breakups and things like that, but they are generally speaking, they are a lot tougher than us.
And they're
much more pragmatic.
Yeah, and they get off on they're evolutionary purists. They see the wood from the trees, right? They're driven by their biology and anything else, and they actually get off on the stuff that we try and kind of quell as men, right? You know, we want an easy life as a man. Women love anxiety, anticipation, uncertainty, drama, intrigue. That's exactly the chemical concoction that is instilled in a woman's brain when she reads one of the fastest selling books, or the fastest selling book of all time, like Yellow James, 50 Shades of Nutsack. I mean, great. So, I mean, women get off on this stuff. Women get off on the stuff that men don't want to feel, right? And so, if you can flip it on its head and again, lean into uncertainty, lean into drama, lean into mystery, lean into pain, make fear your friends, you start basically becoming emotionally very tough, emotionally very resilient, and then women get off on that man. They want to be in the presence of that man, right? Grounded masculine presence, and who's just unflustered by life, who's always on top of life. Nothing phases him. Whatever happens, is have more fancy. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Anyway, what else? What else you got, right? That's extremely attractive, not just for women to be around, but for other men to be around, right? As a mate. You want a guy you can fucking rely on, right? Who steps up and says what he does and does what he says.
So add to that, women want men that are easygoing, that they anticipate, and who can do a job to bring in resources. Well, yeah, maybe a bit further. That's a bit further down the line, I think. All right. So what about this? Mark KP. The simplest way for guys to ease into their game is simply asking time and then giving the woman a compliment on something. I had good reactions from simple compliment. I think that's fair enough. I mean, I don't really like the whole asking the time thing because it kind of. I mean, everybody and his fucking uncle has got a fucking phone now with the time on it. So nobody. I mean, it's. What do you think about that strategy? To get going, maybe it's all right.
I think if you've got a lot of anxiety and you're trying to do this stuff on your own, I remember how much fear I had trying to go out. I watched Serrera and John Matrix's product against Dating Against the Machine. I tried to go out and do this stuff myself, and I found it terrifying. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So that would have been a good stepping stone for me. And if you've got a lot of fear, anxiety, and you can't just summon up the cojones to start cold approaching women and stopping and giving compliments, which actually, to be fair, it is scary when you first begin. It is very fear-inducing. Fair enough, as a stepping stone. But what you don't want to do is get stuck on this. So it'd be interesting, Mark, maybe you could answer how far past this are you now? Because if you're still using this and you're kind of not getting these conversations and you've been doing this 6 months, that's, you want to use this as a stepping stone to kind of ease in over a week, maybe.
So he says here by asking the time or directions. I personally, and this is just, it's a very small point, I just personally think directions is better. I mean, sometimes, even up until recently, sometimes if I've wanted to warm up, and I felt a bit rusty, I've just gone and asked 10 people for directions. Like, it's always like, oh, where's the Apple store? Where's Starbucks?
Yeah.
Shit like that, because
not a bad thing.
You know, it's not a bad thing to
it's
just
all about momentum.
But,
so again, throughout the day, be managing people. And then if you are feeling a bit nervous, no harm in just asking a hot girl for something. But what I would say is, what's better and it's going to make you feel better. Instead of dipping your toe in, it's like the equivalent of like the cold outdoor pool in like Mallorca in summer, right? In a hotel, you want to go in the pool and you dip your toe and it's freezing cold. What's better? For most people, unless they're sadists or they're Wim Hof, they'll probably say, actually, what's fucking far easier is just jumping in the pool. And then for 3 seconds, you feel really cold, but then you adapt to it, rather than just going really slowly in, like toe by toe, and then the foot, and then the leg, and the body. That's quite a painful exposure therapy, right? So it's a bit like what the analogy here. Is it better to go up and start asking for direction, then ease into like complimenting, or just go up and say, hey, look, I think you look great, I want to come and say hi. For me, and I've tried both methods, that actually it's a lot more fear-inducing to begin. But once you do that once or twice, you don't give a fuck.
It's actually
more alpha, it's more congruent.
Yeah, and it's actually you know, once you start doing it, it's actually not that hard.
And then once you've done this several hundred times or several thousand times like we have, or even more, you can then dial it back and kind of go indirect direction. What me and Troy tend to do when we roll up to a girl is go, hey, I had to say hello. So or you caught my attention. So our sub-communication is kind of playful, flirty, I player vibes, but we're not necessarily saying, you are hot, I need to have a conversation with you. It's
So because Mark's next point is, I never had negative reactions from a simple compliment. Well, and that's true. And generally speaking, I mean, look, I know some of us live in, you travel a lot, but we're in London now, the Anglosphere. Everyone's afraid of, being labelled everyone's afraid of being labelled as a sort of a predator or what's the word, a toxic male, masculine or whatever. But the reality is, in 99.9% of cases, most women, if you're not a fucking weirdo, you just go up and say, hey, listen, I had to say, you're looking really good today, or your style's fucking great, just had to come and say hi. Most women, even if they're zero interest in you, are gonna be like, oh, okay, thank you, that was nice. Actually, I've got a boyfriend. They're not gonna be offended. They're not gonna call the police. They're not gonna go nuts. So you could very quickly drop the crutch of having to. And the other thing about it as well is this: you go up to the girl and you say, hey, where's the Apple store? And she says, oh, well, okay, right, first left, then you go down there and then to the right. And then you're like, you're really pretty, Then you kind of outed yourself as a bit of a pussy, because she knows, like, she's not stupid. She knows that you don't give a fuck where the Apple store is. You're just trying to make an excuse to talk to her, and so it's always better just to own it and go over and say, hey, listen, I don't know.
If you don't necessarily even need to go really direct anymore, but just showcasing some directness. So maybe using the indirect like we do, where you don't really put it on a pedestal. You go, look, I had to say hi, you caught my attention.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be.
Or I noticed X, Y, Z about you, and it, caught my eye.
Yeah,
women are intuitive.
They
know what's up.
I mean, look. In the end, if you're starting conversations and you're doing it consistently, that's a good thing. It's just
half the battle is actually just fucking
yeah. So
what doing that 20 times a week?
If it's easier for you to start off and start off with asking directions and then doing it, just do that. But you want to get to a point where it's more congruent, because really, people think, this, dating coaching is all about being somehow underhand or some sort of, but actually, really, it's about being very authentic and expressing your authentic self. And your authentic self is, you're quite attractive. She's attractive. I'd like to go and speak to her, and just expressing that and owning that. And if she says, "Fuck you," I don't want to know you. Well, let the chips fall where they may.
We both like using the direct model because
it's more honest.
It's more honest, and also you don't neither. we've had this conversation under the side. We both
have terrible memories,
and also neither of us mind if we put up a line with a girl and she basically blows us out and she said, "Well, I'm not interested," because we walk away going, "Well, we gave it a fucking crap."
Well,
and actually, sometimes when you're being a bit underhand or trying to do the arse seduction, the cock hair, you get a bit lost with it. Or it can just be easy to fucking put it on the line. And I think that's the danger we
even worse than that. I've heard some horror stories recently because the other problem that you could get is you could get into you can finagle your way into a sort of a semi-friend zone situation without even intending to. So there's a client that we both know, we were talking about earlier, who's been in several situations where he's approached a girl, but he's approached her probably in a manner that could be interpreted as friendly. And then you get into this horrendous sort of like, oh, we've been on 16 dates now and she hasn't kissed me yet. And she kind of, it's that lack of, well, it's probably partly to do with that, but it's also just the lack of, you want to make, it's not about being crude, but it's about, on some level she needs to know what your intention is, and then she can then make a decision based on that if she wants to proceed or not. Right. So when you walk up to her, on some level, whether you're verbalizing it or not, she should know that you're attracted to her, and obviously it's a man-to-woman thing. Now, she may then reject you because she's not interested or she's got a boyfriend. Fine. But that's better. It's almost better to get rejected early rather than get into some long drawn-out thing where she's like, oh, maybe this guy's just being friendly. Or,
I think that's why we really like the idea of making the first few hundred approaches guys very direct, when they roll up and go, look, I just saw you, I thought you looked pretty. I thought you looked
nice. I mean, nice was the classic one.
And I want to say hi. And it's actually a process of manning yourself up, because most men, for many, many years or decades, have kind of, as Terrell would have said, hit their proverbial dick, right? So they haven't really put any intent on the line ever with women. And actually, it's a process of putting it on the line and manning yourself up. And then with that, after doing that, you can retract it a bit. And be a bit more indirect.
And the reason that they don't put it on the line, and I know this because this was me, is because we all fear rejection.
Fear of rejection.
So,
fear of sexual rejection.
And there's stages to this as well, like going around a race course, right? So the first jump is like, okay, showing intent on the first approach, but then he's on the date as well. So, the date's going really, really well. Did you try to kiss her? No. Did you ask her, to maybe go to your place to chill? No. Why not? Well, because I was getting the good feelings, she's really into me, we're having a great conversation. If you then try and push it further and then she rejects you, then you feel bad, and you don't want to risk feeling that rejection then.
It's prioritizing.
So it's like,
you need to get laid.
Right? It's almost like you've got to be prepared to burn the thing down in a sense. Because ultimately you are there for a reason. You are there because you're attracted to her and you would like things to move forward. And it's your job as the guy to move in that direction. And if you don't do that, then, you're shooting yourself in the foot, basically.
On a personal level, just personally, what I like using at the moment is, you caught my attention and I wanted to say hello, because it implies that she did catch your attention, which is completely honest, and you want to say hi. And you're just assessing whether it works out, because I'm very much about vibe these days. I have to be physically attracted to a woman. And if her vibe sucks, if she's got traits I don't really like, I will not pursue her. I don't give a fuck about going on a date with a girl that I just genuinely don't vibe with. So I'm looking at the next conversation to see if we click. And I'm just going to be playful and banter and just be myself, right? And just being yourself is not the maladaptive version of being yourself that couldn't pull a muscle. It's a version I worked on and got better at in terms of social confidence and flirting and playfulness. But I'm going to roll up and I'm just going to be playful and figure her out, right? Come from that point of view of selector's mindset. I'm seeing if she's up to scratch for me. And if she is, and I think she's cool enough to enter my reality, I'm going to, at some stage throughout the conversation, ask for her number. And say, hey, give me a number, we'll do something another time, and I'll invite her out. And that's it. And it's done from a position of strength, emotional strength, because I've rolled up, I've approached her, I've screened her, I've seen if her vibe is cool enough for me, and I've got her number and her digits, so I'm going to send her a message to ask her out. And if she doesn't want to buy into that process at any stage, that's also okay. And I'm more than willing to walk away, because I've accepted on a fundamental level not to outsource my happiness. And the fact is, no woman on earth is going to make you happy. And it's down to you to figure that out.
Exactly. That's that's the key fundamental point. A slight sub point to that is also not everyone is going to be into you. That's just any of us, and that's just a reality.
Getting comfortable with rejection, leaning into that rejection.
Like I'm not for everyone. There are amazingly, you won't believe this, but amazingly, there are some women who just think I'm fucking. You know, they're really into me. Other women wouldn't fucking piss on me if I was on fire in the street, and that's just the reality of it.
Mark Manson said it best: you can't be a hero to one woman without being a total joke to another.
So it is what it is.
And that's the reality of women.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming yours. I've had some women that don't give a monkfish about me. I've had some women that worship the ground I walk on.
Yeah.
Right? And it's ridiculous, but it's just perspective. It's exactly like you. Forget the looks, right? Because men are quite visual creatures, but a bit like you vibing with different personality types of women. Some women that my friends have dated, I think their personalities are fucking horrendous. But the blokes are incredibly attracted to them. And some women, you know, my friends have dated, so I'm like, oh, she's got a really cool personality. But other people I've spoken to are like, oh, fuck, I don't like her. She's a total. So reality is completely subjective. The good thing, the thing you need to look for is passive, which is, are you meeting women on a consistent basis that you find attractive and you're able to date them? Because if you're not, something in your reality is amiss with your tactics to getting women. And that's why most of you, all 94 of you are watching this thing. It's like, right, probably you can't figure that out by yourself. Probably there's some blind spots there. And that's why you need to come to people like us who are not emotionally attached to your situation, in the sense that we do give a shit, but we're not you, so we're not organically attached. And we can very ruthlessly and professionally pick apart because we taught thousands of dudes.
And quickly.
That's the issue, that's the issue, that's the issue, that's the issue. Fix that. And then suddenly you're going on dates with women in a location that you didn't think was possible after 2 days. You're like, oh, fuck. And it's purely because we've been able to give you some objective feedback over things that you have blind spots on.
I mean, look, we've had now between us decades of experience of both doing this.
Thousands of clients, and we've done between us tens of thousands of approaches. We've won thousands of dates. We've slept with probably thousands of women between us, right? Mostly prostitutes, but some not. Some day game.
Sorry, cut that.
We've got a lot of experience that can't be faked. So, with all due respect again to other content creators out there, there's very, very few people that I respect in this industry, not because they're bad people, but they just simply don't have the sheer reference experience we've got between us. I mean,
so we can so the benefit to you or to anybody who comes on a boot camp or a training event is that we can all the things that he said, but also we can very quickly identify what the issues are. It usually takes us, we meet a guy, we can usually tell within the first couple of minutes what his problem is, can't we?
Yeah, we can dissect it, and then just on a vibe level and how he looks and how he comes across. And then when we actually see him approaching and we record the content, very sharp visual and audio sync, then give you that footage and sit down and analyze with it, you can then see, oh fuck, that's how I'm coming across. Because it's incredibly hard to know how you're coming across in real time in a conversation with a woman. It's virtually impossible, right? But when you see the camera footage of yourself and you look at the audio, with us there to break it down with you, yes, it's a bit cringing. It doesn't have to go on YouTube. It's your content, it's including the price of the training. But it's the best feedback you're ever going to get because the camera doesn't lie. It shows exactly what's up, and the woman is your mirror. You can see a women kind of like, oh God, like doing that reaction, and they kind of engage, right? And you can't fake that either, especially with a random cross section of women that don't have no idea, they've never met each other, right? They have no idea, they've got no agenda, they don't know anything's being filmed, right? They're completely curious with what's in the moment.
Yeah. So, Henry, in answer to 2 questions here, when is the next boot camp? So, the next boot camp is next weekend. It's in Warsaw, in Poland.
1st till the 4th of August.
1st till the 4th of August, okay?
But we will be there from the 29th of July till the 7th of August. Yeah. Come in at any time period.
We've got a couple of, we got 1 or 2 spots left, I think. We are quite full on this one now. But if you are interested in that, then what you need to do, just do it now. Email me, troy@realtroyfrancis.com or info@jamestusk.com, or both of us, and include your WhatsApp details, and we can have a conversation.
But Warsaw training.
Yeah, this is the next event. In answer to your second question, 44. Well, funnily enough, the last we signed up another client for this exact event yesterday, who is also 44 years old. But no, I mean 44, man, that's not an issue. I mean, I'm like half a century. I mean, I'm nearly dead. You know, I'm half a century old. We teach guys in their 50s. We teach guys in their 60s. And funnily enough, actually, I mean, one of our most successful clients, he's in his 60s, isn't he?
And women don't, honestly, if you look presentable, you look reasonable, you're willing to work on your fashion and hit the gym, and you've got a decent skincare routine, and you take care of yourself. Women do not give a fuck about age. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, a couple of clients we talked recently, Mr. G, and you know, she's 63, I think, 64. Another client we've had for a long time who's now dating a 25-year-old woman in Chicago, Mr. R, he's 64.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, you realise women see age as a sign. It's an attractive thing. It's a sign of maturity.
But also,
they're looking for that dominant alpha masculine caricature, right? That often comes with men. With age, we tend to develop mentally a bit slower than women, and actually you need a bit of mileage on the clock in terms of life experience, and that's attractive.
Yeah, and also I would say, look, having. Obviously, maybe I've experienced my 40s in dating, right? My 40s, actually, I mean, I always say my 30s and my late 30s were the best time in dating. But let's face it, my 40s were pretty fucking good as well.
I still travel with you now. And, until recently, I mean, you've obviously got a girlfriend now, but, you know, you were doing very, very well for yourself. Very, you know, women between the age of 18 25. It's the same with me. I typically date women at 37 years old, between 18 and 24.
But, I mean, 44, no worries at all. No. I mean, you're not even in the getting into the red, the red zone there at all. There's no concern.
That being said, we will need to feedback on your fashion and how you look and come across, because you still have to package the product, and you want the product to women, package that the best you possibly can. And what I always say to men is, okay, look, the odds are being jokingly calculated by scientists. You can Google this. I think it's on a Mel Robbins video, weirdly. 1 in 400 trillion, right? Are you really presenting yourself as that most attractive version of 1 in 400 trillion? And if that doesn't really make sense, the question is, if you're looking at yourself from an objective point of view, not you, would you really be like, that guy's maximising how he's presenting himself?
I was saying to some guys in my group earlier, one thing that's quite helpful is to put yourself, I think you said this, to put yourself in the mind of the customer, which in this case is the woman. You've got to think, well, what's gonna, are you wearing, I don't know, a fucking t-shirt from Walmart, a 10-year-old pair of jeans that are kind of baggy, and how there's a lot of different elements that go into this.
How you come across, and again, even doing that thought exercise for yourself throughout the day is a very clever way to build self-awareness, which I'd argue is one of the most necessary skill sets in life to level up.
And look, I'm certain. Look, I mean, and we all need some help with this, right? Because all of us, it's again, with the way that we present everything, like it's hard to see ourselves from the outside.
Very hard. Because we're emotionally invested.
But anyway, drop us an email, man. And in fact, drop me an email anyway. Just email troy@realtroyfrancis.com or info@jamestusk.com, because even if Warsaw, it would be great to get you along to that. But if that's for whatever, logistically, whatever, we could discuss some other options. So
the big one's coming up, just as a summary up. We've got London coming up. Details to be revealed shortly, but that's going to be a crazy experience, but only for a select few men. We've got...
And actually, 44, we're actually targeting this at a slightly older audience as well.
That's a good thing. We've got Colombia, Bogota, early October coming up, so that's an option. That's a fantastic place to train. Friendly hot Latinas, loads of fucking options for women. We've got New Year's Eve, Rio, and we've got the massive one next year, myself and Troy teaching Rio Carnivore, the world's best and biggest street party. Incredible place to learn game. Smoking hot Brazilian women in the sun, going wild. They love foreigners. I've been going there 7 years. It's the only event I've been to on my 7 years of traveling around the world as a high-end homeless person. Every fucking year. It's the only event I've been to every year. That is that good. And that's time sensitive because, and I've been saying this to another clients who are going to come, the accommodation is really close to running out already in the best area you stay in Rio. So really, really important if you want to join us for that. You only put down 25% deposit to confirm you're going to come in February. But really important that you get in touch if you want to join for that, because you need to book the accommodation.
Yeah.
Because it's already very,
yeah.
very smart.
And the other thing as well is, I don't know where you're based, but say you're in the UK. Say you were in London, for example. Even if you wanted to do something bespoke in London, we could also discuss that. So just drop us an email, we can figure something out.
The key thing is get in touch.
Yeah. Hi Troy, will you make more content on your other YouTube channel? No, I don't think so. So basically what happened was I was doing a project with Pearl of Just Pearly Things fame earlier this year.
Just Pearly not so.
And yeah, please. And basically, well, there was no falling out, there was no animosity or anything like that. But basically, we sort of discontinued that project for various reasons, because of the way things that had affected her business. She got demonetized. She had to restructure her business. She's now moved back to the United States anyway, and so. No, it's unlikely I'll continue to do anything else on that channel. What I probably will do, though, is, and I've already done it actually with a video about Chris Williamson, which I put up yesterday, is take some of the content from that other channel and put it onto my larger channel, because there's some good content on there that maybe, could have got a bit, could have got more views on my main channel. So the answer is no, probably not. But it's not because of any sort of like falling out or animosity. I mean, me and Pearl are good friends. She's a great girl, but it's just not something that we're continuing with. So that's the answer to that, really. And I just think it's I mean, it was a good idea at the time, and we have various plans for it. But the thing is, in the end, unless there's not much value in me having two channels basically discussing the same kind of stuff. I mean, if me and Tusk, we've talked about. Occasionally we've talked about, maybe making a channel where the content is slightly different. It's a slightly different form of content, like maybe more around travel or adventure or something. That's different. But if you've got two channels that are basically just talking about dating, then it's sort of like, what's the point? Walking note. The one thing that all have trouble in groups. Almost every girl I approach is usually alone, but a lot of the time they will take me to their circle eventually, as in that day or the next. Okay. So okay. Funnily enough, James and I were talking about this yesterday. So what you're saying, that you meet the girl and then she is making you hang out with her mates and all that kind of stuff. I mean, ideally, really, you want to avoid that in the early stages, to be honest. I mean, you want to go on some dates with her, just you and her, and not really be getting people's friends involved and stuff like that. Later down the line, like my girlfriend, for example, I've spent, some time, I've been out for evenings with friends of hers and stuff like that, and it's just part of the game. But I mean, it's something I probably seek to avoid in the early stages. I mean, are you saying that this is happening before you've slept with her, or what? And also, what's the problem? Because it's not. So we were talking about this yesterday, and neither of us particularly like scenarios with groups, particularly when it's people we don't know and we're not really, we're not really that bothered about, some random friends of somebody, However, being social is, it's something sometimes you have to do. I went to a barbecue recently. I wasn't, massively overly enthused about the idea, but I went and it was okay, and there were some nice people there. We had a chat, and it was fine. Sometimes you just got to do it, man.
Well, the Seneca thing is also true, which is often we something way more in our thoughts and reality, right? So I'm a big proponent of, I've been very avoidant my whole life with stuff, but often if I'm worrying about something, I actually go to do that thing, it's rarely as bad as I imagine it to be, and I wasted so much mental bandwidth thinking about it. So fuck it, either to do it or not. And again, the filter split through is, what would the man I would be proud to be, the ideal version of me, the highest version of myself possible, what would he do? Would he avoid it? Is he operating for unconditional love, high frequency, or fear? Right? So if it's a fear-based decision, fuck that, lean into it. Right? Whereas if it's just something you genuinely don't give a fuck about, because it's with people you don't really like and it's a bit of a people-pleasing routine, that's fine to actually avoid it. But I think you've got to be very honest with yourself. And I think we know deep down on a gut level when we're avoiding stuff out of fear and we're being bitches, or when we're avoiding stuff because actually, you know, fuck that. I don't give a fuck. People don't give a fuck about me. So again, trying to build that self-awareness within yourself is important.
What I would say, I mean, one final, I don't want to dwell on this too much, but one final thing is that this is slightly, maybe there's something about the way you're coming across, because what he's saying here is a lot of the time he meets girls, every girl I approach, even if they're alone, they will want to take me to their circle eventually, as in that same day or the next. Now that's, I can't think of a time that's ever happened.
That's a really bad sign.
So that would indicate there's something about the way that you're coming across which is a little bit off, because it sounds like she wants to sort of, well, I don't really know, she almost wants to check with her mates or something.
Well, like, it's an interesting one, is it? Because if this was DiCaprio saying this, I'd be saying, right, he's in, you either, there's a very, very, very small chance that I don't believe is true, which is you're coming across as the ultimate alpha, and the woman is so enamored to meet you, a bit like a woman meeting an A-list Hollywood celebrity or a Harry Styles. She's just,
she wants to show you off.
Yeah, show you off. Right? The chances are, if you're watching other content, with all due respect to us, probably you're not in that category. Probably.
If Leo is watching, though, you know, I really liked. I've liked a lot of your movies, particularly Wolf of Wall Street. But
really, that's your go-to.
I really like that. What else is good? I'm not a big Titanic.
Blood Diamond.
Okay, fair enough.
Fan of that one.
I'm not. I saw it a while ago.
What about the one where he wraps up in a bearskin?
Oh, mate, I love it. What's that? The Revenant or something?
Yeah.
I like. That's fucking
With
great.
Hardy.
Yeah, yeah.
But the chances are you're not coming across as the ultimate alpha, and she wants to show you off. So she's either doing this like a vibe check, like she wants to get a mate's opinion of you, or she's like, fuck, I kind of need to get away from this guy. Oh shit! Oh, Kelly, are you there? Let's go and join you. Or she's seeing you as non-sexual, but long-term boyfriend potential. Right, where she's like, oh yeah, come meet my friend.
This has hardly ever happened to me.
Never with me, and it's way better to be polarizing. I've had girls walk out on dates with me or fuck me very quickly.
So because what you want, like I said when you were at the bar, I mean, really, what you want to, this stuff can happen later. That's fine. If you start seeing each other, she becomes your girlfriend or whatever. Yeah, sometimes you might have to hang out with their mates, but in the early stages, it should really just be you and her.
It's a bad sign.
The only time that this sort of happened to me. I was in Miami some time ago, and I met this girl. It was in Night Game. It was just kind of like instant kind of connection, whatever.
She's like, I'll come meet my friends.
No, and she's from. Well, I won't go into details, but anyway, just kind of get instant connection. I'll get her number.
No, go into details.
Yeah, massive details. I'll put her Instagram up. I don't have it anymore. I've got a girlfriend. I've deleted it. But anyway, she the next day we'd been texting back and forth. And the next day I was like, "Oh, come meet me for drinks." You know, usual thing. I was working with a client, so come meet me for drinks. She said yes. And then later she comes back and says, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to be bringing my two friends with me." Now, normally that would be an immediate deal breaker because you'd be like, "What the fuck?" In this instance, and it was two gay guys because she was traveling with two gay guys. In this instance, because basically I had fuck all else to do. I was out anyway, and I just thought, well, whatever. I was like, all right, fair enough, I'll meet you. But I knew that I would have to get these dudes on side. So what happened was she turned up with the two guys. One of the dudes was from Venezuela, I think. I think the other was Colombian or whatever. I was chatting to them, made sure they were on side, so that was fine. And then they kind of let us get on with our own thing, and it was okay. Not ideal. I wouldn't normally if you try to arrange a date with a girl and she says, "Oh, I'm going to bring my friends," that's a fucking just fucking blockade. You know what I mean? In that instance, I did. But
that being said, in Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico, sometimes they'll turn because of safety issues. They'll turn up or just
okay.
Vibe check.
I think
they will turn up.
Yeah,
With a best friend or sometimes a girlfriend.
Yeah,
and it is a bit like you had where. You just play it cool. You don't get weird about it, and you just start it out. And often, what happens is they kind of talk when you go to the bathroom, and by the time you come back, they vanished off, or some stage friend goes, "Oh, I'm leaving." And
it actually ended up being a really fun night. And you know, they knew we went to this Latin club after and stuff. And it's like once you, obviously though, the skill set there, which is a wider social skill set, is you've got to get the buy-in from these other people. You know, because if they think you're a fucking weirdo or they hate you, then they're going to try and torpedo it immediately. So,
to be fair, the question he's put here is slightly different because I assumed it was a date context and they're trying to drag the girls trying to drag it too. But I think he's talking about approaching groups in like a bar.
No. The other thing is I have trouble with is groups. Almost every girl I approach is usually alone, but a lot of the times they will want to take me to their circle. So he is approaching them when they're alone.
Oh yeah, but I assumed it was him being on dates with girls and they're trying to drag him to meet the group of friends. It's not. Wow. It's actually in a club or a bar, and then she wants to drag him back to the group. That's not necessarily.
Okay.
That's not necessarily the end of the world. That's kind of actually normal
in a club. All right. Well, if
because
it's that,
she takes you over to the thing, you kind of chill, maybe flirt with the mates a bit, and then you kind of swan her off again. But,
yeah. Okay. Well, it did. All right. Well, we
went on that's the fascinating thing about perception, isn't it? Because we perceive that question to be that. So there was some long rant about that, but the reality is, it was actually something different. But I think there was some decent nuggets of wisdom in there.
Decent nutsacks in there. So, all right.
Let's answer the question from the actual perspective he asked it then, maybe before we move on.
Well, all right.
Maybe put it back on the screen so people can see it. So he's in a bar or club. He sees a girl single at the bar, and then often he's talking to the girl, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, let's go back to my friends." The fact that she's saying, "Come back to my friends," she's not like, "I'm going back to my friends without you," is actually, to be fair, a positive.
I don't know, man. I think we've got, because look, he's saying. This is ridiculous. It's like sort of interpreting some Shakespearean text.
Yeah, maybe could you write another message to clarify what?
Because he say they take me to the circle eventually, as in that day or the next.
So you go, okay, yeah, maybe let's move on because it's too much. Clarify exactly what you're.
But if you just very quickly, if you're in a club, it's a little bit more normal. You meet the girl, and then there is a likelihood that she's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm matching with my mates." And then you have to meet the mates, and then you get into the whole situation of they may try and cockblock you and all the rest of it. But that's a separate subject. All right, this is probably one for you really, because you Mexico, Brazil versus Colombia.
Good question. They're all awesome places for different reasons. My personal preference for overall vibe is Brazil. It's one of the most friendly places on the planet. I love taking clients there because they're very culturally curious. They love meeting gringos. If you're not from Brazil, they're going to love meeting you in various cities. And it's such a vast country. You can travel around so many cool places to visit. Weather's amazing. And you've got some of the best parties in the world there, namely Carnivore in February, Rio Carnival. Rio New Year's Eve is awesome. And what else? We've got some of the world's best music festivals as well, if you're into EDM and all that sort of stuff. I went to Tomorrowland in Brazil about 7 years ago, which was fucking amazing. So Brazil, probably my top. I learned Portuguese purely because of Brazil. That being said, Mexico and Colombia are also awesome places, a place that I've gone to every year for a number of years. So for me, Mexico City and Guadalajara are both very, very great cities for approaching. In Mexico, extremely hot women, very underrated for game, very few foreigners. I know the place like the back of my hand. And Colombia, I mean, we spent a lot of time in a place like Bogota, which is an awesome place to take clients, isn't it? Extremely feminine, sexual culture, good club game, good bar game, a lot of fun. Also a fucking awesome place. It's splitting hairs, really. It comes down to your preferences, really. If you want a crazy party, it's hard to beat Brazil, especially for Carnival. If you want but Brazil tends to be a little bit polarizing. If I take 10 guys there for boot camp for Carnival, 8 guys will fall in love with it day one, and 2 of them will just be like, nah, it's not really my vibe. Whereas Mexico and Colombia tend to be very unpolarizing, and 99% of people we take there like it and want to go back to Bogota.
And indeed do go back.
But the best thing to do is join. Send me an email and join me, or at least get on a call and pick my brains on the info, because I've been spending the last 7 years, 6 months a year in these locations.
So Sadri says my biggest sticking point is I don't go out regularly.
Yeah, that is your biggest sticking point. Identified.
When I do go out, I take a lot of action, push your approach anxiety. So, but after 3 days in a row, I'm dead and I don't go out.
Well, sounds like you're not doing the atomic habits thing, which is building this in as a consistent skill set that you need to learn for life. Sounds like you're overstretching yourself when you go out and you're burning out.
Getting burnt out.
Yeah, what you need to do is go smaller and more regularly. So you need to go out every day for a walk for 40 minutes. It's what I do. Every day, around lunchtime or, post work, I'll just go for a walk around wherever I am for half an hour, 40 minutes. And I'll just go out with the intention of, if I see someone, I see a girl, I'm just going to say hello to her. And it doesn't matter about the result. It's just about taking the action, building this in as a regular thing. I always think that, we both say it now, but the best way to get good at this stuff is falling in love with the idea of becoming a social animal. Yeah. Treat it like a game, treat it like a skill set to learn, and make it fun, gamify it. Go out, banter with everyone about your day, and then when you see women, you see the opportunity to approach, do that. And if you can hit 2 or 3 approaches a day, and then also banter with people throughout the day, that is honestly enough. It's not like you have to commit your entire life to cold approach.
In fact, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. You become weird, and actually you need to level up in other areas. I think there's a really big error with this stuff of guys thinking that you need to go out 5 hours a day. If you're doing that, it's a total waste of time, because you should be allocating that time, that energy, your most valuable finite resources to other ways to level up your value. Because if your SFV isn't very high, sexual market value isn't very high,
your results are going to be lesser anyway.
Your results are going to be shit. So yes, absolutely. One string of the bow is social skills, social feeling plus social intelligence, which is only made better through experiential, actually doing the thing. But then the rest of it is like working with fashion, working with sexual shame, leveling up your resources, your finances, learning languages, learning to fight, getting your blood style, getting your hormones. All these are value areas you need to work on. They have to be done as well. So you need to allocate time to those things.
So Mark, this is more of a sort of comment than a question, really. But Mark AP says, I've improved my ability to speak to random women since starting day game. Great, but I find this anxiety never goes away. Well, it never entirely goes away, I don't think. And
it's also a good gauge of like if you find the girl attractive, because you never feel it for if a really girl not our type walks past this window in front of us, we're not going to feel anything. But if a girl, either our types, walks past, we're going to feel this kind of flirt. And that's actually a gauge. Your body telling you, right, it's action time. Lean into that fear, like we talked about at the beginning of the stream. Lean into that anxiety. Lean into your masculine edge. I don't know which cloud. Well, I do know which cloud, but I don't know why it was called approach anxiety. It should have been called approach excitement, because it's the same physiological response in your body. It's just your interpretation of it as anxiety rather than excitement. But actually, it's your body, it's your DNA saying, right, mating opportunity.
Yeah.
And if you use that resistance as a gauge to be like, fuck, let's go and fucking do this.
Like, would you feel approach anxiety there?
Mate, I'm so turned on.
Mr. Adam.
Mr.
Adam. Sorry, Mr. M. We love you.
Well, no, Mr. M's just about us, so we can slag him off.
Okay. The second part of this is I'm still not as comfortable approaching in some scenarios, such as night game and groups. Okay, so two opposing thoughts on this. Firstly, you don't have to do night game if you don't want to, right? It's not compulsory. I mean, one of the reasons that the day game became a thing and it became very popular was because there are people who just don't particularly like clubs and bars, and fair enough. I mean, you don't have to force yourself to do it in an environment that you don't like.
There's people who don't like doing day game, and we teach the bar and club stuff as well. And for years, actually, before transitioning into day game because of age and just we didn't have time to do it, we didn't want to be hungover five days in a row. I did, as did you, a lot of fast escalation bar and club.
All of my game at the beginning was clubs and bars. I mean, that was all I
10 years. That's what I did.
So there's two separate things here. First, I'd say don't do clubs if you don't have to, and if you live somewhere like London, to be honest, you don't even really need to do groups because there's plenty of people, just solo people walking around. However,
test yourself.
Yeah, but on the other side of the coin, to spin that on its head, it's also great to throw yourself into situations that are uncomfortable. So there's also an opposing argument, which is actually just fucking give it a go. Because, like, I used to deliberate, and this I suppose is leaning into fear and leaning into challenge actually, but when I first started to learn about this stuff, I would deliberately throw myself into social situations that I found to be very challenging.
Especially at the beginning of a session, because if you do a group at the beginning of a session, then to approach solo girls is really not a big deal.
No, so I've done, I mean, back in the old Tiger days and stuff like that. You'd walk onto a group of 10 girls, some of them very hot, like, hey guys, and just open the whole set. Now, you might get shot down in flames, or often you wouldn't actually, funnily enough, but you might do.
The more you try and get rejected, funnily with the stuff we do at night game with guys, rejection game, which is throwing you in to get rejected. The more you're trying to get rejected, the less you often get rejected.
Like say you did night game and you find night game is really anxiety inducing and you find it quite scary, but you went out and did it for a night anyways. Even if you totally bombed, then in contrast, talking to a girl who's maybe on her own standing outside Starbucks is going to seem like a piece of piss.
100%.
So, like, the more that you can expand your sort of comfort, you've got your comfort zone, which is like this, and then the more you can expand it. Like, I was thinking a very inappropriate. I was thinking a very inappropriate analogy then, but I won't use it. But the more you can expand that comfort zone, so I mean, like our friend, our associate David talks about how when he used to work with Varsity Tyler, Tyler would Owen Cook would say to him, right, just go around the entire bar and just say hi to every dude sitting around this bar. and he just have to go around and walk. So, oh, hi mate, how's it going? And walk around and just talk to everybody in the whole fucking
and then
bar.
automatically you warmed up, right?
Yeah, you're warmed up.
The biggest thing with social skills is it's so momentum based, isn't it?
It really is.
Which is why every day, whether you're into day game or night game, whatever, you're going to reset and feel kind of like stagnant. It happens every day you wake up. Doesn't matter how social you've been the day before, you're going to feel stagnant. Your job that day is just treat it as one day and then go through that day and just be really, really social. And if you do that day in, day out and just string those days together, you become a very, very social guy. But if you do what most guys do, and they'll have one day where they go out and boss it, and the next 6 days not do anything because they're feeling a bit stifled, realize that every day you're going to wake up feeling stifled. And every day your job is to take action, and so you feel socially free again. Look, I came out today pretty antisocial, right? So on the way, as I said, I was speaking to the Uber driver, a quick call with a client just to warm myself up. Now on the stream, I've gone from probably a 2 out of 10 sociability to, hanging around with you, talking to these guys, to like an 8 out of 10. Right? I feel really warmed up, I feel in the moment. I feel 100% if it was a hot girl walking past here, I had zero hesitation running out.
Yeah.
Whereas when I first walked into this pub about an hour ago, I would have more that feeling, more resistance towards it. Right? So it's all about building momentum on a daily basis, remembering that it will go. You're going to work. You're going to wake up feeling antisocial, as most men do, and that's okay. Accept it, and then leverage your state throughout the day. And at the end of the day, you should be in a state where you're kind of like you've gone out, you've done some reps, you feel good, and socializing makes you feel good. If you could bottle and sell the feeling you get from going out and throwing yourself into some cold approaches, I've had this conversation many times with clients, and it's a very addictive feeling when you go out and speak to the hot girls, right? And it doesn't even matter about the fucking outcome. It's throwing yourself out there and doing it, and you feel fucking good, right?
Yeah.
And you go back and you're warmed up, and that's exactly how life needs to be, because life is just a millions of present moments stitched together. So throughout your life, instead of thinking that happiness is some destination in the future, you need to be enjoying life step by step and getting whatever the situation you're doing is. You need to be getting the most fun, the most enjoyment from that situation. So every situation you're in, try and gamify, try and have fun with it. Try and see life as the game that it is. It's simply a game. It's simply a single-person game, a subjective game with loads and loads of moments stitched together. That's it. So you've got to be enjoying this process, right? And it's called game for a reason as well, in terms of the actual approaching stuff. You've got to be finding ways of making this fun. It should not be a drag. It should not be a ball ache. It should not be terrifying. If it's any of those, you've got to change up what you're doing.
Yeah. So Mr. Flores, who comes on the channel quite a lot, he says it's hard to feel worthy of women when they show such a difference around you. If you're in a city of billions of women and none of them have ever approached you, it's hard to give yourself permission. Well, look, women don't fucking approach, man. Jesus Christ.
They do. The biggest approach indication you're going to get from women, the way women approach men, is by looking at the guy and then expecting him to step up. And that's your job.
To be fair,
masculine energy.
Yeah.
She's a feminine girl. You have to step up and take the action.
So and to be fair, he then says, and that's
look
why.
At it again, jumping. We're again misinterpreting.
Well, no, I don't think we are entirely misinterpreting it, because you're saying it's hard to feel worthy because women don't approach you, but it's like, well, women generally don't approach. I mean, like you said, it's a couple of times
in my entire
I've been approached
and like directly, where the girls actually come up to me and be like, I think you're hot, or I want to say hi to you, and I feel it. And the women that actually did that were not the type of women you want to be taking.
No. I mean, it's happened to me a couple of times when I was a lot younger, and they again, not. I mean, they will give you approach. They will give signals for sure. They'll look at you, they'll smile, whatever. They're not going to come up to you. It just doesn't fucking happen. They just don't. Even in this modern age of feminism and all the rest of it, it's just not how they operate. They don't like it. They don't want to do it.
They will check you out potentially. They'll look at you, and that is often we both had it right recently.
And also
the ones we regret the most, those who approach me regret the most, the ones where the girls actually check you out.
Yeah.
Saying hello. I mean, that's something you go and kick yourself.
But also your mindset is wrong here, because it's not about you should regard. I mean, fuck. Women don't approach anyway, but fuck that. You should give yourself permission, as you say, because you already believe that you're the shit. You should think I'm the fucking boss. They're lucky to get
you are literally one in 400 trillion, right? What I liked about Mr. Justin's content is he gets guys to make this thing called a man creed. And at the beginning of the man creed, it's like a statement, it's like a personal statement they read out to themselves every morning in the mirror to set themselves up for the day. And one of the things he puts in the kind of template of the man creed is, I'm the only version of me that's ever going to be created in the universe, right? Think about that, right? Think about how you should be fucking bigging yourself up and being on your own side and making yourself feel like a fucking boss. Because if you don't think you're a fucking boss, and if you don't think you're something special, I guarantee you, because life is a mirror, not a window. Women and people around you will treat you as such.
Rejection is the fuel of the gods. We should have called the stream that actually. That's quite
well,
a
we
good
can
title.
nick that for the next
yeah,
one.
well, thanks, man. Yeah.
Steal that, Doc.
Yeah. The only way to get rid of shitty unconscious beliefs that you carry for years, and that's the way I get any success with women, more by approaching. Okay, good.
Yes, absolutely agree with that.
I always feel worse with women that are indifferent to me on the approach to those who are outright rude or abusive.
I don't know. I think the most degrading of all time is what we've talked about before, where the girl is like kind of like, thank you for saying hello, but she's kind of looking at you like a kind of a woman who's not taking you.
So nice.
Yeah, she's not taking you serious as a sexual prospect. That happened to me in the beginning of Cold.
But listen, but listen. I mean, look. Sometimes it stings a little. I mean, it's all bollocks. It doesn't fucking matter. I mean, and to be honest, my memory is so bad now from years of drug abuse that I mean, through cognitive impairment that I tend to forget. I genuinely forget like a lot of. I mean, like you will often say, "Oh, what are your worst rejection stories?" And I sit there racking my brains. I can't fucking remember. I'm sure.
Luckily, most of mine are on camera. So that's how I know what you
yeah.
Right? That's how you become a dating guy.
Yeah. But yeah, don't worry about it. I mean, it doesn't. It's what some random woman thinks of you is irrelevant.
What is your mindset with going into a break to if you want to absolutely stunning? Well, the first thing you really need to do is take her off the pedestal of looks and be like, right, forget the looks. Even though you find her attractive, forget the looks, right? It's like, okay, you caught my eye, and you're going in with this idea that looks aren't also that important, right? The rock star effect, of a rock star who's been on stage in front of millions of streaming fans, the benefit he has is he's fucked so many attractive women. His beauty has lost its power over him, right? And it's one of the original Chateau artists, who's a great blogger. One of the 16 commandments, right, is ignore her beauty, right? You've got to just see that as like, of course, a girl I'm interacting with is going to be good looking.
Yeah, it's a bare minimum.
Yeah, it's normal for my reality. Yeah. That's the vibe you need to be producing. Because if you're like this, like, oh my God, and she can just tell that women are very good at understanding what the dating market, right? They know a beautiful woman know that looks intimidate men. Hence why often I don't know using the number scale. It's like either she's interested to me or not. But hence why 9, if we're going to use the scale, will get approached a lot more than a 6 or a 7, because most men will kind of think it's an easier gig to approach the slightly less attractive women. Whereas I just thought, always going out learning cold approach, I was like, fuck this. If I'm going to put myself in the anxiety inducement of going out on the street, which, let's be honest, when you begin this, it is fucking scary, right? Or at least anxiety inducing. I was like, right, fuck this. I'm going to go for the hottest ones, because if I'm out here, I'm going to be scared shitless anyway.
You might as well.
I might as well. What's the point of fucking hedging your bets and going for the average one?
And
there's no beauty.
And also sometimes the rejections from the average ones can be more savage because they tend to get approachable because most guys.
And also when you roll up to an average looking girl, they're pretty self-aware. Most women are assessing their own value. When you roll up to an average looking girl, go, oh, you're really hot. She's like, nah, she's just it's disingenuous, right? She's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not a fucking stunner. What are you talking about?
Yeah, do you ever doubt yourself? Well, I mean, do I ever doubt myself? Well, I wouldn't say doubt myself. I don't really.
I do. If I'm feeling like a bit of a victim that day, I'm in a low frequency mindset, right? I'm big on this idea of frequency of vibe and energy. Wes Watson talks about it, Einstein Tesla, right? The secret of the universe is vibe, frequency, energy. If I'm operating from a fearful or victim or kind of shameful mentality, fear-based mentality because of whatever, I've got a hangover, or I'm been ruminating a bit on negative shit, or I'm just been eating shit food, it's made me feel shit, or whatever's going on in my life where my life situation feels a bit shit. Yes, I'll see a hot girl and be like, oh fuck, I really don't feel like doing this. And what I'm proud about is just if I can still take the action anyway, right? And sometimes what happens is I'll roll up to a girl, I'm not feeling good, but she just likes my vibe. Like she not even likes the vibe, just likes the action I'm taking, or she thinks I'm good looking, right? So it'll work out. Sometimes it doesn't get horribly blown out. It happened to me. I remember this. So I've been, it's a good story to tell because people love stories. I'd just come back from, it was about 10 days ago, come back to London to see you and catch up with some friends to see my parents. Flew back into Heathrow, and it was about 4 p.m. I'd been on the Zopper clothes to sleep, probably too many of them though, and the couple of the Aero Mexico staff had been overly generous with giving me tequila. Because they saw that I had a thing for tequila and no one else was drinking on the plane, so they're like, look, James, or Mr. Turner, Mr. Tusk, have whatever you want, in terms of the tequila. It's always there if you want it. And they kind of said it like playfully, but I then obviously took them up on the offer and was drinking hearty amounts of tequila. So anyway, came into Cafe Nero, you've always got that kind of stagnancy. I always get that stagnancy when I come back from a trip. I'm a bit like, fuck, I don't really want to go and see people. I didn't really even want to go catch up with my family because I felt a bit grim. And I think I always feel a bit judged for my activities when I travel around the world, because it has been a life of debauchery and hedonism. Anyway, I was sitting in Cafe Nero having a coffee, delaying the inevitable of going back to see my parents. And I saw this girl buy coffee in Cafe Nero in Terminal 3. And she checked me out. Clearly, I went and sat down at a table like 2 or 3 tables down from me. And I had that kind of awkward thing that we always get with this, which is when you're in a venue with a person, you're kind of like, right, when's the best time to give it a crack? Now, what I would say is keeping an eye on her usually, and when she's leaving is often a good time to do it because it's not pressured, or when you're leaving on the way out. The issue with being in the venue and you know, kind of thinking like, do I go and give it a crack, is if it doesn't work out, it's often a bit awkward to sit back on the venue. And remember, this is quite a small kind of coffee shop in Terminal 3. Like, people are kind of, you know, it's not like it's quite transient because it's an airport, but it's not. It's not. People are still listening, right? You've got that what we call the spotlight effect, which is the fear of what other people think. And I remember, I'm in a bit of a state. Haven't slept that much. A bit hungover from sleeping pills and tequila and stuff. So I was kind of in a low frequency state, right? A bit kind of, oh, woe me, victim. Anyway, I called an Uber. I decided, right, I've got to face the music and go back and see the family. And Uber was 2 minutes away, so I was like, right, I've got to go to the car park and actually meet the guy. And I was wheeling out with my suitcase. I thought, fuck this, I'm going to give that a crack. So I leaned over as I was going past with my suitcase, leaving the coffee shop. I leaned over the table. And it was a bit, you know, again, this is where the self-analysis part comes in. In hindsight, body language-wise, it wasn't great because I kind of leaned in over the table like this.
Just a lurch.
Lurch in, like kind of a Quasimodo figure, like kind of a goblin. And I was like, hey, I want to say hi. You look familiar, and I kind of paused. And what often happens in that situation, from the reference experience I've got, is if the girl is at all interested, again, you're just testing for interest. She's going to jump in and go, "Oh, okay, yeah. Where from?" Or she's going to make the conversation easy for you because I've kind of just thrown out a bit of bait, and it's like, okay, if the girl is remotely interested, she's going to do it. Anyway, what was interesting is she checked me out a couple of times when she'd been going backwards and forwards. So I thought, right, it's going to go quite well. And actually, it went horrendously.
What did you do?
She went, well, I said, well, hey, you look kind of familiar, you know, and kind of paused. And she went, really? Never seen you before in my life. And you're not someone I'd probably ever talk to anyway. And just stared at me. And I was there with my suitcase, like... But what happened was, inevitably, I was like, okay. And I didn't, I never get what hurt. A lot of guys, what they do is they get what hurt and they go, well, take it as a compliment. And or say something weird like that. And they say, I just said, oh, okay, no dramas. You know, my mistake. Like, really, you know, think about that. Daniel Craig, James Bond, right? Unflustered, right? Yeah. Just go through your life unflustered, right? Act as this great epic teacher Stoic principle. Act as if nothing bothered you. Yeah. Stoic concept, brilliant concept. Act as if nothing, but even if inside you've got huge turmoil, or like you want to rip the bloke's head off or whatever. I'm not saying be people pleasing, be a mat to walk on, but generally speaking, you use mastery unless someone's got a knife to throw or punching in the face or whatever. Hey, no big deal, whatever. Yeah, whatever, I'm above it, right? They're beneath me. And that's really, that riles people up, but in a good way. It's like, fuck, this guy thinks he's the shit. So I was just like, whatever. Okay, have a nice day. Or, oh, my mistake. Yeah, no drama. Have a good one. And it was quite awkward because a couple of people, I had to like kind of past the chair and like this, it's like a family watching. It was actually a complete car crash of the conversation. But what happened was, got away, 20 seconds of bad feeling off. And then I felt like, I was like, you know what? Thank God I did that. Because I guarantee you, if I hadn't taken that action and just got, you know, it's not about the result. It's all about the action. If I hadn't taken the action, you'd have regretted it. Rejection is better than regret. We always say it.
We know that.
And I know it especially because she checked me out a few times. So
now, but
if I hadn't taken that action, I would have felt like a fucking puss. And I would have beaten myself up for it. It would have lowered my perceived perception of myself. Yeah, if you do enough times over the years by avoiding women you should have approached, eventually you start eating yourself up from the inside out. And that's why you usually hit a rock bottom, and then usually the guys will get in touch being like, fuck, I need to change something.
Well, you know, I've told you similar, with my girlfriend now, but I mean, I've told you similar stories about similar regrets, you know, and you tend to remember them. But there's another lesson actually in that story, which is worth saying, which is that IOIs, guys are like, hey, look out for fucking IOIs, you know, did she check me out or not? that sometimes they don't mean shit. You know, or you can see something,
Well,
and it probably was. And
I actually think in this case, because I've discerned a lot of I've done this for a long time, right? So I'm kind of good at assessing where the girl checked out. She genuinely did check me out, but for whatever reason, my vibe, she just didn't like. And if she found out
it could have been, it could have. And look, let's be fair. I mean, you were probably jet lagged. You got the tequila, you got the Zopic Club, whatever, right?
Well,
I mean,
my vibe wasn't great, but also, we've said this before, and good-looking dudes. I'm still a decent-looking guy. I'm quite jacked. I'm in good shape at the moment. Facially, I'm decent-looking, right? We have a different set of problems being a decent-looking guy because women will often have a higher bar for you, and so I didn't match that bar. She checked me out, but she had this image of her head of how I was supposed to be, and I came across a little bit stumbling, a little bit awkward, a little bit clumsy, a little bit hungover, and she was like, "Oh, fuck this," and she had this visceral reaction. Women are what I love about women is they're purist. And if they're not feeling it, they're not feeling it. Yeah, you can't fake that.
And look, no, I wasn't in any way questioning the IOI, the indicator of interest, wasn't genuine. I'm sure.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it has just been these kind of like because I'm in a foreign country in the middle of fucking buttfuck nowhere, and people just looking at me like, "Who the fuck is this?" So it's not an IOI. It's just genuinely who.
Well, that's the other thing. So the problem is that there are guys out there who will. There are guys in the industry who promote. Well, forcing IOI, they call it forcing IOIs and stuff.
Jab.
Yeah. So some crazy drunken bloke in the Midlands, for example. But then there are other guys. There are other guys, in groups that we're in and stuff who will talk all about like, oh, should I wait till she checks out stuff. The problem is. IOIs are not reliable. Let's put it like that. Firstly, you may have misinterpreted the IOI. Secondly, yes, there may have been some nascent attraction there, but then when you go up, it may fail anyway. And thirdly, sometimes there may be some attraction there, but she's not available. She's like, she's like, oh yes, sorry, she shows you the wedding ring. Now maybe in that moment she was attracted to you, but so what? I mean, attraction's a very fleeting thing. It doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't necessarily mean that anything's going to come of it, which is why. You should be approaching regardless. I mean, all of the girlfriends that I've had, including my girlfriend now, I mean, she fucking look at me. She did. Before I approached her, the only reason that we ever got together was because I went up and talked to her. It's
naked with a hard on in TG.
No, it was at a very civilized cocktail bar in Mayfair. But no, I mean,
TG tips.
So yeah. We should probably. I mean, we've been going for an hour and a half, haven't we? We should probably bring this one to a close.
I just want to nip this one in the bud as well.
Okay.
I mean, look, Yad has got a lot of respect from clients because if you've seen him in recent times, not to criticize because each their own, but he's not. He's not a particularly.
Gorgeous.
He's not the best looking rooster at the moment. He's put on a bit of poundage and he's quite unshapely, should we say? So the fact that he can roll up and just kind of just banter and vibe with girls, and very unaffected, just talk to people, is very, very impressive to a number of students. So or clients, and I can't criticize that. I wouldn't say he's got, from my experience of watching his content and working with him a bit and stuff, I'd say he's got a great vibe to him. I wouldn't say produce a particularly sexual or kind of closer's vibe. And from what I hear, he's very good at opening girls and conversing with them. But how much of that gets converted, I don't know. Richard Laruna was never really a day game guy. He was a very good marketer. I wouldn't have said his game was ever particularly good. From what I knew, I think he was just very good at setting up particular scenarios and understanding social dynamics. But he wasn't a day game guy. He's a massive introvert. Not to say that introverts can't be good at day game, but he was not, from what I know about him, he's quite a socially retractive, shy introvert guy. He was not a day game dude at all, just a good marketer. And I'm not sure he ever, from my knowledge, had much day game content. So that's my opinion on that, and I'm not slagging either of them off. This is exactly what I'd say to anyone, including them, if they were sat at a table with me. And they're not here to debate it, but that's my opinion, just objectively speaking. What else? We've got a few more questions then. Troy's headed to the little girls' room. volume is a bit low. Apologies. It is what it is. So look, would you say, evening chaps, would you say you're better in fields or abroad compared to the UK? Actually, some of my best in fields were, for those that have watched my content for a while, were me in the UK in a suit, coming out of a city job and doing approaches in Liverpool Street, London Bridge, Canary Wharf. It was some of the most enjoyable day game stuff I ever did when I first started producing content as well, because it was me just starting off and then just really enjoying just being social and approaching. And actually, it was really, really good content, some of the early stuff in the UK. But that being said, some of my most enjoyable experiences for day game and filming content have been abroad. And obviously, if you're a dude, if you're a foreigner who's willing to go overseas and approach, really, that is my big regret that I didn't do for 4 years. I was charging around the streets of London, and I regret not traveling earlier with this stuff, because you are going to get better reactions when you travel. As a foreigner in most countries, you are seen as a shiny object. You can do massive damage. I would highly recommend anyone who is looking to get into cold approach just to really build an avatar of a woman they find attractive, and then base where they're going around that. You know, if you find very blonde hair, blue eye girls attractive, go to Scandinavia, go to Finland, go to Warsaw. If you find Latinas attractive, go to Colombia, go to Mexico, go to Brazil, right? Travel, don't be afraid to get on a fucking plane. We live in a beautiful time, gentlemen, where you can be anywhere in the world within 18 hours, right, via flight. So there is no excuse, and I've said this time and time again, I hate the victim mindset that, if I'm being brutally honest, that I've often carried throughout my life, and I've tried to really beat out myself and coach out myself. Just beat it. There is no excuse to be sitting complaining about circumstances of dating when we live in a time where you don't have to get on a fucking ship and travel 5 months to go to Brazil with the threat of storms or maybe getting eaten by a rival tribe. There's none of that bollocks. It's literally, you can be anywhere in the fucking world within 18 hours, right? You could be, if you like, for example, Latinas, you could get a flight to Colombia, 10 hours, and you're there from London. What excuse you possibly have not to go and make it happen? The only excuse you have is really you're playing the victim, right? And you're hoping that things will just materialize into your dream reality. I guarantee you, as a man, it's not going to happen. As a man, you have to go out and you have to make it fucking happen. And this is where we look back as maybe the final thoughts at the beginning of the stream, which is we have a limited amount of time on this planet. As Navarro Kant says, all you have is a set of sensory experiences, then you die, right? If you're not happy with your current status when it comes to dating or life or other things, but let's talk about dating. If you're not happy with your current set of circumstances when it comes to dating, you can't think your way to victory. You can plan a bit, but you've got to take action and change it.
Yeah.
Right. And that often involves leaning to things outside of your comfort zone, which is everything not in your comfort zone, which is approaching hot girls in the street, in the coffee shop, in the bar, in the club. Right. And if you're unable to do that through watching the content we put out for free to inspire you to do that, the best way to save your most valuable assets, which are your time, your attention, and your energy, are to get in touch with us. Send us an email, info@jamestusk.com or troy@royaltroyfrance.com. Include your WhatsApp number and get in touch for chat and join us for some live training where we take you to a location where you find the women that you like attractive, whether that's Warsaw next weekend, or whether that's Rio Carnivore in February, or whether that's Rio New Year's Eve, or whether that's Colombia in October, or Istanbul later in the autumn. You come and join us in a location, or London, or you join us in a location. You find the women attractive, and we grab you by the scruff of the neck and throw you in 200 or 300 times over the course of a weekend and break the back of the social anxiety you have, the approach anxiety. And then from that, once you've broken the back of that, you start working on the conversation. We film you, we sit down, we break down that footage with you, give you that footage, and then you have this amazing weekend away where you're going on dates with hot girls and you're doing stuff you didn't think was possible. And then from that, you go back to your home city or wherever you live, and me and Troy will hold you accountable for free for a number of months afterwards, giving you gamified tasks each week, social challenges, skills to learn, to build this skill set. Because social skills, says it in the name, is a skill set that can be worked on. That is how you do it. There's nothing else to be said. if you resonate with us as
Fuck, your nuts have gone all over the table.
Cocaine's gone everywhere. If you resonate with us as content producing people, and you feel we're people to teach you this stuff, there is no other excuse. Because if you're watching this, the chances are you're also not a complete pauper, because you wouldn't be resonating with us, right? As middle class chaps, and you have the finances to at least invest a few hours of feedback, right?
Yeah.
And if you're unwilling to do that, you've watched content for hundreds of hours and got nowhere. You've got to be questioning why you're wasting your time.
You can only blame yourself. I mean, I
did this as well. You know, holding my hands up massively. I was a content junkie for about 6 months before I took action.
Yeah,
I regret the 6 months I spent just reading textbooks and games, because what it actually did by reading and watching content and not taking any action, it made me more socially anxious.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't even leave the house and say hello, have normal conversation with people.
Because then you get into that whole perfection thing.
You're overthinking everything.
It's got to be perfect. By the way, just to address this, sorry, this has got he's saying your other YouTube channel was more intimate and the content was deeper. I'd actually disagree with that. I'd say it's the opposite. The content on the other channel, if anything, was a little bit more. I would say it was a bit more commercial. It was a bit more clickbaity. You know, we were doing things
way more clickbaity.
Yeah, it was more like, oh, we're going to react to, I don't know. So this is what happened on Fresh and Fit last night, or something like that. Yeah, I would say. Whereas this channel, if anything, if there's a criticism to be leveled against my larger, my main channel, is that it's too fucking intimate and it's too deep, and I should be giving more actionable advice. So I disagree with that, but it's all me anyway. I mean, it's all the same stuff. Anyway, that's a small point.
What about Africa? So,
well,
or Nigeria or Ethiopia?
Well, our friend Captain Pirate Nutsack is a big fan of.
Yeah, and I've spoken to a few people that, and Morocco. I've spoken to a few people.
Well, Morocco, I think,
based in these places, and they rave about it. And they show me some sort of verifiable receipt evidence and clips that can't really be, faked, and it looks fucking good.
What you could do if you don't live in the UK, well, I know the Tories are out now, but you could have got a free flight to Rwanda. Yeah. You could have under Suala Nutsackman. They had that Rwanda skit. You could have gone to Rwanda for free and done game there. Unfortunately, I don't think that's still going to be available.
Oh, is it? Good to see you, bro. Pleasure. Isaac's a great guy.
Good stuff. Good to see you, man. All right, anyway, so look, let's bring this one to a close. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching this on the replay, many thanks. Please subscribe to my channel and Tusk and Team, his new channel.
Is this on Tusk and Team or not?
No, because we haven't done the logins and stuff yet. But okay, I mean, you can stick it.
We haven't done the Footloose.
But basically, anyway, the next event, as we've been banging on about, in Warsaw, Poland, from the 1st to the 4th of August, basically next week. However, there's some latitude. That's the main boot camp, but we will be there from slightly before, and a few days afterwards as well. So if you can't make those precise dates, get in touch, let us know, we can figure something out. Just email me, troy@realtroyfrancis.com or info@jamestusk.com.
And include
your WhatsApp number, because we will need to have a quick chat with you just to make sure
the amount of people who email us and then still don't include their WhatsApp number, but they're just like hello in the email, as if we know what the fuck to say to that. Not what you want in the email. I'm emailing you about Rio Carnivore. I'm emailing about Warsaw Immersion. I'm emailing you about Rio New Year's Eve, and include your WhatsApp number. That's all. Don't be weird. Don't treat it like a big deal, but just do what we say. The amount of people who fail to do that and do something weird in the email, it's just like, no wonder you're not pulling a muscle like with women, because you can't even email us, right? Put a fucking one-word sentence or one phrase sentence properly.
Yeah, but anyway, get in touch and we'll figure something out. We've got a couple of spots left for Warsaw.
And if Warsaw doesn't work, look, we're going to be in Istanbul this year, awesome place to do game. We're going to be in Rio for you next year. We're going to be in Colombia in October. There's some awesome fucking places coming up for you to come and approach and learn game with us. So it doesn't have to be Warsaw, but get the ball rolling. If you've been watching Troy's content or my content over the years, thank you for your support. But also, I'd much prefer you to not watch any of our content ever again. And stop watching Theory and just come and join us for one day's training, get something out of that, and then email us and not speak to us again, and email us in 6 months going, thank you for throwing me in. I've now gone and got a girlfriend or whatever. And those are the hero stories I love. I love people coming up and saying hello to me in the street, and it happens often. But what I secretly grinds my gears, and I actually start to call people out on it, which they find a bit offensive and a bit abrupt in the moment. What I've started to do is call people out. They're like, oh, James, I've been watching your content for 5 years. I'm like, great. So how many approaches have you done in the last 6 months? And they're like, well, next week and next week. I used to humour them and play it very nice back in the day. And now I'm a bit like, well, tell me more about that. And I'll end up kind of calling them out of it because I want to, we're doing this because we understand the hero show with this stuff, how fucking tough this stuff is, right? And it's one of the hardest things as a man you can ever do is face your demons, face the fucking music, and actually run into fear and anxiety with women. And it's a journey we've both gone through, and we both relapsed at times on, and then both gone back to and continue further. And I understand how much of a fucking daunting task it can seem at the beginning. So we love helping guys in this arena because it's something we're truly passionate about because we understand the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah, we've been
understand
through
the highs, the lows of both. We've been through it all. Trust me,
Yeah.
I've seen every conceivable scenario with this stuff with clients and myself, as have you.
Yeah.
And we've got a combined fucking experience in the industry of around 35 years. We've done tens of thousands of approaches between us. We've done thousands of dates, thousands of women between us, and not literally between us, but
That'll be a little bit.
And we've taught thousands of guys around the world, so we know what we're doing.
Yeah,
right.
Which
very
is...
quickly identify for your life situation the keys to the kingdom. So stop watching the fucking content and not taking action. And if you watch the content and you try to take action, it hasn't worked. Great. Now you know you need some feedback and you need some help. Or if you've taken some action and you've hit a sticking point, you can't get on any dates, stop fucking trying to wing it and throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. Get some feedback on what you're doing because we can identify what it is and change what you're up to.
And often it's very small tweaks. It's often not this mellow. Well, sometimes it depends. But I mean, often there's very small things that if you just change it up a bit, you'll be getting much better results. We can identify that extremely quickly and help you correct it extremely quickly.
And for most men, they simply can't do the reps, right? So you need to be thrown in and break the back of the anxiety. And if you're not doing 20 approaches per week, that's the major issue.
Yeah.
You need to be speaking to 20 new women a week. That's it. In cold approach. If you can't do that, it's time to change it.
Anyway, many thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the channels, like we said. Email me.
Henry, stop asking questions. Get in touch. And 99, just to answer this quickly, your last question to be answered before you email us. In Latin America, I can speak Spanish and Portuguese. 99.9% of the clients I take to Colombia, Brazil, and Mexico do not speak Spanish or Portuguese. If you know you're coming to one of these places, you've got 3 months, you can put in touch with one of the best language teachers I've ever worked with. Who can teach you quickly, but I will still approach even speaking Spanish and Portuguese in these countries in English, because I want to get the girl speaking a foreign language because it invests her more, and I want to showcase the fact I'm foreign. And if she can't speak the language, then I'll flip to the language, to her language. But clients who can't speak the language, it doesn't matter because you're polarizing women. A lot of women want to meet foreigners, and if they still can't speak the language and you can't speak the language, they can't speak English, and you can't speak the target language, you just switch to Google Translate.
It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
Almost 100% of the clients I take abroad cannot speak the target language in these places. It makes no difference for their dating results. If anything, speaking the language sometimes fucks you up. You over-verbalize it.
Yeah. I mean, Torero used to argue against learning the language, which I don't necessarily entirely agree with, but I see what he meant, because it was almost like, no, she should be in my frame. I don't know.
No, I do.
We can argue the toss.
I do agree with that.
I think. So here's the. I mean, in my experience, I think for having, dating and casual fun and hanging out and spending time with somebody you don't speak the same language, that can be fine. When it becomes a bit problematic is if there's a real language barrier and it's starting to go longer term. That's when one of you really, you need to man up and start learning the language. But for the purposes of this, which is learning approach skills and social skills, it's not a problem, so don't worry about it. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Good to see you, and we will no doubt see you again very soon. Come and join us in Warsaw. info@jamestusk.com or email Troy@Troy@Francis.com.
Henry, we'll see you in the email.
Yeah, looking forward to your email, Henry.
You're such a device.
Anyway, bye-bye for now.